Hello and welcome to the Sonic Cinema podcast. My name is Brian Scuttle. Thank you for joining me once again at www.sonic-cinema.com. You can also check us out wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, or the Sonic Cinema podcast YouTube channel, where you can also find quick take video reviews of some of the movies we're actually talking about today when it comes to our subject. You can also check us out at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. Atlanta Film Festival is coming up in April. Hopefully, I will be covering that once again and have some short film stuff for you. We've got my annual Oscar nomination discussion blog, which will be coming out the same day this does, as well as episodes of Leaving the Collection and Life Soundtrack. That's at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. It is that time of year again. It is the Friday before the Oscars, so there can only be one subject for this episode, and it is the Oscars. Join me as she has for the fifth straight year is awards watcher Amanda Spears. Amanda, how are you doing right now?
I'm okay. I'm a little mad at you.
Why is that?
I didn't get a fifth anniversary present.
I apologize. My schedule has been absolutely crazy.
Yes, I guess don't matter. I'm just kidding. Okay.
I case in point, there are still some of the nominees I have not seen, but at this point, that's basically par for the course. But that being said, we are here. We're talking about the 98th Academy Awards coming out on Friday, or coming out this coming Sunday. Conan O'Brien is once again hosting. Thought he did a pretty good job based on what I heard and saw. And it's funny because of the fact that last year I can't remember how we ended up coming out on some of these categories. I will be honest, I was probably more surprised than I should have been that Nora kind of ran away with everything last year.
Yeah, we didn't have a Nora doing that well between the two of us.
Yeah.
Nor did we have Mikey Madison winning.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we took a long way to where we all thought it was supposed to be, but this year is completely different. So,
yeah, this year is going to be interesting because I feel like, well, we've already seen some of the acting categories take a few twists and turns, and I feel like there's, even now, with the exception of one, I feel like three of them are still in a certain degree of flux. It just kind of depends on how people felt going into the voting process. And because the precursors were kind of all over the place. And
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But that being said, it's going to be interesting to discuss. Once again, as we typically do, we will not be discussing the short films because I know I have not seen any of the nominees, so I cannot speak intelligently on those. So we're just going to focus on the main categories. And I did want to start off with the new category that we actually have this year. One of two that we're going to be adding to the Academy Awards in the next couple of years. And that is for Best Casting. And this will go to the casting director of the nominated films. We start out with Nina Gold for Hamnet, Jennifer Venditti for Marty Supreme, Cassandra Kolkundis for One Battle After Another, Gabrielle Dominiques for The Secret Agent, and Francine Maisler for Sinners. I feel like this feels like one of those ones where I feel like the big precursor, if there is one for this, would be, am I wrong in thinking maybe the Ensemble Award at the Actors Awards would be more of a precursor to this one?
Well, let's back up. I've said this for the entire year as far as this season is concerned. And that is, we're seeing two narratives pretty much play out simultaneously. One is it PTA, is it Paul Thomas Anderson's turn? with one battle after another. Or, and a more interesting one in my opinion is it time to award a Black director? I say Black and not African American because Steve McQueen was nominated in the directing category before we get to the 100th Oscars. And the overwhelming love that we saw with Sinners with scoring 16 nominations. I always was concerned with casting for, and I'm sorry, this is my long diatribe. I promise I don't have that much energy to do this for all of the categories, but I was not worried about casting when it was at the cook-off race and when the casting directors were picking their 5 nominees. I'm a little bit more concerned, without knowing how the voting trends will look, if this is just going to become what happened at the Emmys, where it's like you have to win casting to win Best Picture. We saw that happen when the Emmys expanded their voting, not to the entire Academy, but they just started allowing producers and directors to vote to the point where it's like 98% of the time, if you want to win Best Comedy Series or Drama Series or Limited Series, you got to win casting. There are only very, very few exceptions. Like a really good example of it is like Stranger Things season 1, where it's like, yeah, that absolutely is harder to cast. I think anyone who saw the first season, or, you know, you don't watch a lot of TV, but you're aware of it. It's going to be a lot harder to form a drama series around some preteens and some teenagers than it is the eventual drama series winner that year, which was The Handmaid's Tale.
Right.
I mean, just on the scale of difficulty, any producer or director is going to understand that. But like when Veep won for its 4th season, it's like, come on. How hard is it to add Hugh Laurie? And that's my big fear with having the entire Academy vote as a whole. But I do agree with you. I know BAFTA went with one battle, but I don't think that's going to win. I think this is going to be Sinners. And I think the fact that it did win kind of the casting ensemble, both at Critics' Choice and then, of course, just won ensemble. And, you know, Delroy Lindo did kind of, I think it was the casting director he asked to stand up. But, yeah, I do think overall Sinners is a more interesting film to have to cast because of the fact that you've got to find Miles Kading, you've got to find singers, you've got to find all the right kind of people to put into this.
Yeah.
No offense to One Battle, but when your top 3 cast members are all multiple Oscar winners, it's like, yeah.
And we'll get to that when we get to the acting categories, because I'm well, one in particular, because I have thoughts about that category.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about those categories, and we probably should just save the acting for last for that reason.
Yeah.
But you know, I do think that Sinners is I mean, yes, he's used Michael B. Jordan in the past, but even if you subtract that, he had to find everybody else and perfectly cast this, or it doesn't work. And even Jack O'Connell has to be that role has to be perfectly cast with the right person. And I do think that it's Sinners. Now, I will say One Battle would be the one that I think has the best chance to upset. We're going to see that all night in the 12 categories, because One Battle has a double nomination in supporting actor. So unless there's a tie, it can only win 12 categories. Yeah. But I think we are going to see, for the most part, those two go head to head the entire night.
Yeah, certainly where they're both nominated.
Yeah,
certainly. Yeah, I mean, certainly where they're both nominated, I think you're basically looking at even the fairly easy front runners for the most part. I don't think that. Yeah, I think as we'll go through the technical awards, I think that kind of will not have. I think that'll be a little bit more fluid. But yeah, definitely, I think for the most part, you're looking at it's either going to be Sinners or it's either going to be one battle after another. And I definitely agree with you. I think Sinners is the obvious choice there. I will be surprised. I was pleasantly surprised to see Secret Agent in there. I didn't necessarily anticipate seeing an international film the first time out for this category.
Yeah, and I will just say, just using like the Emmy rule for this, like all five of these films are nominated for Best Picture. Just
Yeah.
going forward, if one of them was not nominated for Best Picture, um, I would say that that probably isn't going to win. Also, I think that minus The Secret Agent, we know what the top four are.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Again, I'm basing that primarily on the expansion in the Emmy categories, and I'll, you know me, I follow everything, and so yeah, casting is one that I will keep an eye on. But again, we have no data to know how the overall Academy will vote. But I'm hoping they just don't start rubber stamping the Oscar winner,
Right. No,
Best Picture winner.
I think that's fair, certainly. And I mean, I think, I could have easily I feel like if casting existed last year, Conclave would have been the easy choice
Well, I
for
don't
it.
know. I actually think that is one of the awards where it made sense to be why it might have been a Nora. Because
Hmm.
finding Mikey Madison, because it's not like Hollywood's littered with Russian actors.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, I can't remember his last name, but Yuri, who was in the supporting
Yeah,
part, he suggested the kid who played the oligarchs.
right. Okay.
So I mean, that one to me, yeah. I mean, Conclave also, you have to find the right people, but that would have been a lot closer, I think, because Honora, as much as I wasn't a big fan of that film, I could understand why people as a whole would be like, yeah, you got to find. There's no guarantee that film's going to work without the right people in it.
Right. No,
Especially,
absolutely.
it's not like you can throw a rock and find a Russian actor in Hollywood. Like, come on. You either got to find one who's got a really great Russian accent, or it's. Whew.
Yeah, very true. So we are going to start off with the technical awards. We're going to go with best visual effects to start off. The nominees are Avatar: Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World: Rebirth, The Lost Bus, and Sinners. We have two that are nominated for Best Picture in F1 and Sinners. But I will be honest, I would be surprised if F1 won this. This feels very much like Sinners or Avatar.
Yeah, and I know I am the person who's always on here. Anyone who's listened to us for 5 years knows I always say, when in doubt, go with the Best Picture nominee. When in doubt, go with the Best Picture nominee. This is the one case where I'm going to say no. Mm-mm. No, not in this category. Because visual effects, only once in the past, and that was the year Mad Max was nominated, and The Revenant was nominated, and the Star Wars film was nominated, that it diverged from a Best Picture nominee. I think the fact that Avatar has won this category twice already,
Yeah.
it feels like an easy place to make that prediction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I am going to say that this is one of those few times where I'm like, no. I know it's not happened very often in this category. I mean, there's usually not even a Best Picture nominee sometimes, but
right.
In this case, like 2016, I'm going to say go with Avatar. They've already won it twice. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, even though it's like by this point, I feel like the visual effects you're just fine tuning the visual effects from the first and the second film. I mean, it's still the spectacle. It's still the impressiveness of the vision for James Cameron.
The most of anything. Remember, they like to go with the most in anything, and it's still the most. Like, I love Sinners, but Sinners wins here. I might be like, okay, well, I guess we know who's winning Best Picture, but.
And the big question at that point would essentially be how many.
What's the total
winning? Is it going to beat the most ever, which would be extremely impressive achievement. But yeah,
remember the number off the top.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on visual effects. I do think Avatar: Fire and Ash is probably going to be the winner here. That being said, that brings us to Best Sound. Nominees are F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Seurat. I will admit I have not seen Seurat, but I've heard nothing but good things about sound design. I have not seen Frankenstein. I'm going to get to it before Oscar time. I just have not had a chance to see it. Sound, I there's a strong part of me that wants to go, look, just give it to Sinners between the sound effects, between the music, between the way all the sound design in every way, shape, or form. It's just the complete film in that respect for me. But the fact of the matter is, you've got F1, and I think that movie is just I think that movie is a serious possibility for this one.
Well, I think that F1 is the loudest one. And this is one of the
Yeah,
shames of like splitting up sound mixing and sound editing.
yeah.
If there was mixing, I would pick Sinners.
Hmm.
Uh, that being said, since there isn't, I have to go with just the overall loudest in the category, not my favorite, not what I would personally vote for, and say it's F1. But
Yeah,
I would again, this is one of those categories where yeah, Sinners and just all of that music, all of those special effects, all of those zombies, or sorry, the vampires and the fighting and everything that goes
yeah.
on, that it might be enough to just overwhelm everyone. If F1 wasn't in the category, I would pick Sinners.
Oh yeah, hands down, hands down. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would definitely. It would Sinners would be my obvious choice too, because it's just I would just basically show the Academy the "I lied" to you sequence, and it's like there's my pitch for why you should vote for Sinners.
Mm-hmm.
Like that right there is why you should vote for Sinners in pretty much every category. Um, so yeah, that brings us to production design. We have Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. All five Best Picture nominees.
Well, as I would like to remind everyone, if you're in doubt on what to do with production design and costume design, it's better to pick the same film. The reason being, if you win one, your chances of winning the other almost double.
Yeah,
That being said, this is one where I agree with BAFTA. I'm going with Frankenstein. It is the most production design. It
yeah,
is the most obvious. And I love
hmm,
Sinners, but this is the one where I might put Hamnet above it only because
yeah,
it's basic. Like I love the juke joint, but basically, and this is what helped them win SAG, is you just take a talented ensemble and lock them in a room. But it is basically to simplify this almost one building for a good 2/3 of the film.
right, right. No, I
I'll give it
mean,
everything I possibly could in most of these categories, but
yeah,
this one's where I'm like, I don't know if even if I was just gonna just tick off Sinners in every category, if I'd be like, but Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro works with some really talented people, and this is one where I could see where they go with that.
and more importantly, I mean, it feels like a labor of love for Del Toro. It feels like a movie he's had in his back pocket for years that he's wanted to make.
Yeah,
And so this does kind of feel like the realization of a dream for him. You know, as far as
yeah.
Hamnet, I was writing out the nominees for my Patreon blog, and I'm like, man, I there's a part of me that feels so bad because I love Hamnet. It's one of my favorites from this year. And yeah, it's probably only going to win one thing. And that,
But what a one thing to
re-
win.
well, absolutely. But it's like, I, it's so hard to believe because it's such a good movie. But I mean, honestly, I could say that about so many movies here. We're going to get to some categories where it's like, it is a shame that anything has to lose this category because it's such a good category.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the nominees from Frankenstein did win as part of The Shape of Water, and that was Shane Vio.
Hmm.
Of course, this is now his fourth nomination, and this is three of them have been for Guillermo del Toro. So,
Yeah.
sometimes when you're in the business of business is good for him. So
Yeah. Yeah.
not that it hasn't been good for Hannah Beachler, but for Sinners.
Right.
But I'm like, I think even she's kind of like, yeah, I'd like to win, and maybe I could ride the coattails, but
Yeah. that's another one where it's like, that's another one where it's like if Sinners wins, it's like, okay, let's go ahead and just start the clock
Yeah.
of how many it's going to win tonight. You know. So we're going to go to makeup and hairstyling.
This
Nominees
one
are
would be an upset. That would definitely fall into the upset category more than like
for
it's
Sinners.
right there. Yeah,
If
it's
it
right
won,
there.
yeah,
Yeah, visual
yeah,
effect. If it wins visual effects or production design, those would be shocking. Sound, I'd be like, yeah, I could see how the sound. I could
yes,
see how people started voting for it for sound. That one,
yeah,
I would
makeup
be
and
less shocked about than you know.
yeah. So makeup and hairstyling nominees are Frankenstein, Kukuo, Sinners, The Smashing Machine, and The Ugly Stepsister. And
Frankenstein.
yeah, I mean it's gotta be Frankenstein, right? Like
This is one
there's
where I would love. I mean, I think again, Sinners is. I would put this in the oh whoa if this happens kind of category.
yeah,
If like
yeah,
something big is about to happen
yeah, yeah.
because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it would be it. Yeah, I mean, this is because makeup is where Del
This
Toro's.
is the most
This would
makeup.
be well, yeah, and this would be the second film of Del Toro's that won the category because didn't Pan's Labyrinth win
Um,
makeup
I think
back
so.
in the
I
day?
know that none of the three nominees for this film from Frankenstein were have ever been nominated before, so good for them. That's
Yeah,
always kind of fun. I'm just looking at Pan's Labyrinth because that just always broke my heart that that did not win international feature, and it had to be a little
yeah,
bittersweet for Guillermo del Toro to watch his friend uh, take it for
yeah,
Roma when it really, really, really should have been him.
yeah.
Let's see, it was cinematography, art direction. Yeah, it did win makeup. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I thought so because
it won
I
three Oscars and could
yeah,
not win. That's a shame.
yeah, it is.
I love Pan's Labyrinth. It's one of my. It's what really turned me on to
Oh,
Guillermo del
it's
Toro.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, I had seen Hellboy before. I believe I had seen Devil's Backbone by this point, but yeah, Pan's Labyrinth is where my fandom of Del Toro just took another
It was
level.
really the one that shocked me that year when it didn't win
Hmm.
international feature. I'm like, what is wrong with you people that it has? We
Yeah,
don't need to get into that, but
yeah.
still, it's
So
we'll
makeup
be
and
here
hair
all day.
design, yeah,
Just
makeup and hair
go with
design. Just go
BAFTA.
with Frankenstein.
Don't
So
overthink it.
that brings us to film editing. F1, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental About You, and Sinners.
Okay, so thank you for playing Marty Supreme and Sentimental Value.
Yeah,
I know sometimes sound and editing go well together. I would be a little surprised if F1 could pull that out. I'm gonna say One Battle After Another because it has picked up a lot of precursors. And
yeah. I
also,
will.
this one for me is one where, if I'm being honest, I think a lot of times my problems with Paul Thomas Anderson films have been they felt their length. Where I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. What
Yeah.
is my time is not infinite, dude. Like, come on.
And I'm not
Like
gonna lie, I did kind of feel the length of One Battle After Another at times.
I feel
I
like the
really did.
pacing of this one was better than we've seen in the past.
Mm,
And a lot of that does come down to the fact that he is working with a new editor. And this
yeah.
is, Andy Jurgensen. I mean, he did Licorice Pizza and Phantom Thread. I mean, he said a few of them that this is his first nomination, but he definitely, I feel, was a big part of why this film at least felt like it was moving. Like it didn't feel like we were just
Hmm.
watching. Again, I don't mind a long film if it feels like we're getting somewhere, and this one at least felt like we were going somewhere.
Yeah,
Like
and I mean,
even
I will admit when I finally caught up with F1, it did kind of feel like, okay, I get what we're doing with this. I get that's racing and stuff like that. Let's try to do something and try to keep it going. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the pace of that movie, but it did feel very repetitive in terms of what was showing us.
Yeah, I mean they're showing us racist. Like we get it. But I love Sinners. I could see
Yeah,
how all those song numbers and the two like little scenes at the end and everything kind of leads to where this one again, this is going to come down to one battle in Sinners.
yeah,
And right
yeah.
now I'm giving this to one battle, but I could still see how Sinners ekes this out. Because remember, everything up to this point has been voted on, including BAFTA, by just that voting branch. So that means that BAFTA, the editors vote for the editing winner. So
Yeah.
we don't know when you open this up, open the floodgates like they do at the Academy, what are the costume designers going to say? What are the
Right.
actors going to say? Who are they going to choose? And that could help Sinners
Hmm.
because it is a little bit more populist.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. So that takes us to costume design, Avatar Fire and Ash, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, and Sinners.
Frankenstein.
That Avatar nomination kind of cracks me up because we know how much of it is performance capture. It's like how much of the costumes do they have on exactly? So that
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
surprises me.
I love Ruthie Carter. But this is, basically they just kind of changed once.
Hmm.
Um, and they tend to not like male dominated films.
Yeah.
So, and that, look at Elvis and I think this is one where, Katie Holly, first nomination. I think this goes back to Frankenstein and the gothic nature of all those like gothic, but Mia Goth and all of those different dresses and the two parts she plays.
Hmm.
And they are one of the things that you really, really remember. And she is someone who I think she's worked with him a lot. And this is her first nomination.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crimson Peak that was Del Toro, wasn't it? Or am I getting my people mixed
Which
up?
one?
Crimson Peak.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is her first nomination.
Hmm.
And I get that people are like, oh, they usually go elder statesman in this category. I'm like, well, you've got to win your first one to get to that point.
Right.
So I do think she is going to win. I think we're going to see the BAFTA 3 for Frankenstein. And seeing how, Netflix could perform as a whole, winning 3 awards so far for one of their films, and then potentially having the chance to update in a few other categories, it starts to look good. It looks good for them. It's not the night they want yet, but they're getting closer to it.
Yes, yes. And we might be seeing another one of those possible wins in the next category, which is cinematography. Nominees are Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Train Dreams.
This is the one time I wish we met tomorrow because we know what the Cinematography Guild is going to do. I don't care. I don't care. I know every reason why I should wait, but I'm going to use my heart overhead prediction for the year with Sinners. I want to see history be made. I want to see Autumn win this category and make history as the first woman to win cinematography. And I think it would be Autumn Arkapawa. She did this, and she did also Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And I think it wouldn't matter for it to come from someone in a Ryan Coogler film who, as we know, he has always worked with a female cinematographer. I did not do my normal rants about gender equality and sound and visual effects because I decided to save it for this. I want to see her win. I might not get Ryan Coogler winning Best Director, but I'm going to make this prediction because I'd rather be wrong predicting her.
Yeah.
Than pick someone else based on a stat and then be kicking myself that it wasn't her. It turned out to be her, if that makes sense. But
No, it does.
I was really upset. I was like hoping Train Dreams wouldn't get Best Picture nomination because I'm like, well, that'll cancel it out. That'll take care of it. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah. And look, I would not be shocked to see Train Dreams win this. I really wouldn't. It is
I would. I think
a
it's faded from memory, really, since it won Critics' Choice. It seems like an afterthought now at this point.
Okay.
I
That's
mean, Joel
interesting.
Edgerton isn't nominated.
Yeah.
It's not even Netflix's big film at this point. They're
No, I
worried
mean,
about K-pop Demon Hunters. They're worried about Frankenstein, as they should.
yeah.
This is so far now off their radar that they're worried
Okay.
about the documentary category. They should worry about categories they can win without turning up too much of a fuss at this point.
Yeah.
And I think they know. They're like, yeah, we might want to just go ahead and stick with this. But Ryan Coogler is somebody who's always used a female cinematographer, which I respect.
Yes.
His cinematographer was the first one nominated for Mudbound. And she talks about how he called her and he's like, I know I'm going to lose you. She did the first Black Panther movie. I mean, it's a huge, huge deal. And I don't do this very often, as you know. I like to think of myself as a robot. But this robot does have feelings, and I'm going with Sinners. So
and I mean,
go ahead.
well, and you also have the IMAX format going back and forth between the IMAX format and all that framing. And again, I would like to just show you the I lied to you sequence in this movie. That tells me everything I know about the craft that goes into this movie.
Yeah.
Before we, and I would have no problem with her winning this for Sinners. I love the movie. It is, I mean, spoiler alert for the end of this episode with my top 10. It is the best film I saw this year by a wide margin.
It's very rare for me to be emotionally invested in a film.
Yeah.
And I really love, I mean, that tells you one thing, because usually at this point I'm like, okay, let's just go. But I do really love Sinners.
Before we leave this category, is this the first time, I can't remember, is this the first time Darius Condi has been nominated?
I don't know. What film is that?
Marty Supreme.
Probably.
I know he worked with the Safdies before. I know he's been working for a while. I first remember his name when he shot Seven for Fincher. But it feels like this is his first nomination because I don't remember seeing him nominated before this.
I've got it up. Hold on one second. No, he's been nominated 2 additional times.
Okay.
For Bardo, False Chronicle, right. And for Evita.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I knew he had shot Evita. I couldn't remember if he had actually gotten the nomination.
The cinematography in that movie is gorgeous, but that's another.
I had forgotten about Bardo, him getting nominated for Bardo, but okay. Okay, so this is his third nomination. All right. I'm fine with that. I think I was thinking Darius Wolski when he got nominated a couple of years ago for the first time. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm excited he got nominated. But sorry about that. Okay, so we are going to move away from the technical. Well, wait a minute. That's right. We have 2 more technical categories. We are going to start with my favorite category, even if I don't always agree with it. And it's funny because of the fact that, which is Best Original Score. And I will say, it is funny how last year on this very episode, I went on a thing basically saying I was kind of glad we're not talking about the 3rd Oscar for Reznor Ross for Challengers last year. And yet here I am banging on the table for Göransson to win his 3rd Oscar in less than a decade for Sinners.
And he might defend.
And I have no problem.
Give him the nominees first. Give him the nominees first, and then we'll go.
Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, one battle after another, and Sinners.
Yeah, Sinners.
Yeah, and
No,
I
no
will.
question. Final
I
answer.
will. I love Max Richter's score for him. I thought it was wonderful. I will give them credit for nominating Begonia, which is a completely out there score. They usually don't go that far out there, but I respect them for at least the nomination, even if I don't love the movie in general. But yeah, I mean, look, Goranson, he's arguably the best one doing it right now. And yeah, just enjoy your third Oscar. Second one because of Coogler. I can't get mad at that, honestly, because his work in Sinners is just too good.
I agree. I John Williams, just looking ahead for next year, John Williams has never won back-to-back Oscars in score. So that's one to keep an eye on for next year. Because he, as Coogler explained at BAFTA, he's working on this small
Oh
independent
yeah, that's
film.
right. Yeah.
I hope people go and see it. It's called,
Oh God,
yeah,
that's right. And see, here I was when you first started saying that. I'm thinking, well, I know he's doing Mandalorian Grogu, but of course you're talking about the Odyssey.
yeah. I'm talking
Yeah,
about the Odyssey,
yeah,
and so
you're
like,
talking about the Odyssey, and it's like, yeah, yeah, we could. But I will say, it'd be nice to see Johnny Greenwood get an Oscar at some point because he's just really that damn good as a composer. I really do love his work.
yeah.
But this is
I
not his
mean, if
year.
he's going to get to the Alfred Newman record of nine,
This is not his year. This is not his year.
no, I'm just talking about Ludwig Göransson.
Oh
Another
yeah.
thing, are we doing song next?
Yes.
So I'll wait. So go for it.
Speaking of longtime non-winners in a category, we come to Best Original Song. Dear Me from Diane Warren, Relentless, which that title says a lot. Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. I Lied to You from Sinners. Sweet Dreams of Joy from Viva Verity. Whatever. Enjoy your nomination. And then Train Dreams from Train Dreams. My my heart is with I Lied to You. Like at this point, you basically at this point, if you don't know my love for that sequence, talking about this episode, I don't know what to say. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think this category has had such a juggernaut in it since Celine Dion with Titanic and Golden. I have a hard time believing Golden does not win this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not stupid enough not to predict it. I will just say this: there's two things that Ludwig Göransson is looking at. One is next year, where if he does win original score, as we're all expecting, he would probably only. I'm just scrolling through the list. He would be only the second person to ever win this back to back. And that hasn't happened since the 50s. So again, that's huge. And then the other thing
Who was
is
the
Alfred Newman.
That's why I was gonna guess actually.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
all-time winner with nine wins. So that's one thing he's keeping his eye on. He definitely wants to have that kind of a record. Let's face it. But he also, well, actually, you know what? Alan Menken did it too in 91 and 92. So he would be the third person to do that. I apologize. I'm scrolling through the list. Just kind of came in my head while we were talking. But still, not the most normal thing to do to win back-to-back Oscars in the score category.
No.
So that's one thing he's looking at. The second thing he's looking at is he really needs for this song to win, because it is rarefied air that he's trying to get into, where he can make the argument and probably still win the argument as far as being the definitive composer of his generation if he can sweep song and score. It's very rare. We haven't seen it since Justin Hurwitz did it for La La Land.
Yeah.
And before that, you have to go all the way back to like Alan Menken. It's that rare that for this to happen. And again,
I mean,
he has
honestly, I think Titanic was the last one because James Horner
Titanic. Yep,
was considered
right.
songwriter on it.
I always forget Titanic. I don't know. Maybe because it's not like a movie I love, but yeah, Titanic. but someone who did it a couple times.
Yeah.
Alan
Menken, obviously.
Yeah, Menken. But if you want to, if he wants to be in that like Menken, Sondheim kind of legacy of composers, he needs the song win. He already has the argument over like someone like Lin-Manuel Miranda or Horowitz or Pasek and Paul, and that is, or even like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, is that he has a top 4 Grammy. Menken has a top 4 Grammy. Sondheim has a top 4 Grammy. And if you want to be that kind of a composer where you're like the one known from your generation, that is, unless he's going to like rock up another 80 nominations to beat John Williams' record, might be a little easier to try win Best Song.
Yeah.
But it's always a close race. It's been a close race all year. I don't really love the song Golden. I prefer I Lied to You.
It's catchy. It's a really, Golden is a really catchy movie. Is a really catchy song. I get why it has taken off the way it has.
And we do see a lot of times song, makeup, and costume are the 3 categories that you don't receive a bump from being a Best Picture nominee.
Yeah.
And we actually see a little ironically more like the animated feature +1 with song.
Right.
So again, looking at Netflix, spoiler alert, that gives them 5 already.
Yeah.
That's not including any shorts. That's not including documentary. That's not a bad night.
No, not at all. No, it really isn't for them. I mean, it's quite an impressive one, actually.
But this is one where, like, if Sinners won, I wouldn't be like, oh my God. Like, I wouldn't be like, let's start the count, like we said. This would be like, yeah, I can see how it.
No, this would be one where I think everybody is like, okay, if it's not Golden, I completely understand why it's that.
Yeah, I mean, they could receive a little bit of a bump being in a Best Picture. Ludwig Göransson is really liked. And I will just say that Miles Caden, and even the actor who played his character, I don't remember his name.
Buddy Guy, the actual blues performer.
Yeah, they performed it together on NPR. They've been everywhere performing it. Miles Caden performed This Little Light of Mine at the SAG Awards, Actor Award, whatever you want to call it. So it's not like, I think they've done as much as they possibly could do to make the case that it should be them. It's nice that Ludwig's joined in the performances. And, I get why, and I understand Diane Warren as to why she thinks it should be all 5, but, we all know. I would love for her to win. Let's just pick a year and give it to her.
I was going to say, is she ever going to win at this point? I mean,
that poor woman. It's not something I would say normally, but when you look at her song category and you look at the amount of Grammys she has and the amount of any accolades, she's just been taken for granted. But she's also never been a part of like a big film before. I mean, I will just put this out there, is that like the film where she was in, the film that she composed where it had a top 7 nomination was way back for the Meryl Streep movie Music of My Heart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is the only time she has been a part of a film. But that, I'm not saying that to be derogatory towards her, but it is a point that, she's never been a part of a Best Picture nominee. She's never been most of her films, even the ones that had really great songs,
are smaller films.
If they were, well, I don't think Con Air is a small film, but it's getting like song and like sound. It's not getting a lot of like.
It's that. Yeah.
That's unfortunately. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just feel sad for her.
Yeah. Okay, well that's fine. We will go on to the Best International Feature. We have 2 Best Picture nominees in this one.
And those are the
And
only two films that matter.
two other ones that I would argue should have been Best Picture nominees. Secret Agent, it was just an accident, sentimental value, Sarat, and the voice of Hind Rajab.
Brazil finally won the first Portuguese film to win, film in Portuguese. Ironically, Portugal's never been nominated for an Oscar for this category. They're one of the larger they're like one of the larger countries in Europe to have never been nominated. That being said, I'm going to go with Norway's Sentimental Value. I think this is the only place they can pick up a prize. And I love this film. I really did. I really, really love this film.
So, three of these films are in my top 10 for the year. I loved It Was Just an Accident. That's my top one of the bunch. And
I will remind everyone that if you are nominated for International Feature and Best Picture, usually, well, with the exception of last year, one of those two films is going to win: Sentimental Value or The Secret Agent.
Yeah.
Just
No, and
pick one.
I agree. No, and I agree with you. I do think it's between those two. And I think Sentimental Value, just because of the considerably wider support it had throughout the rest of the Academy, I think is where it takes a lead over Secret Agent.
Fanning.
Yeah. But I do want to say It Was Just an Accident was absolutely phenomenal, and the voice of Hind Rajab was devastating. I've heard nothing but great things about Serato. Try to get to it, but yeah. But no, I agree with you about Sentimental Value. I do think that's probably the likely play here. So we will go to documentary feature film with The Alabama Solution, Come See Me in the Good Light, Cutting Through Rocks, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and The Perfect Neighbor. I feel like this is basically between Alabama Solution and The Perfect Neighbor. Is that an incorrect presumption?
Netflix versus HBO. Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at least telling people how they can see these films when they're like, "Oh, I can't go see." Yeah, you can. You can.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with The Perfect Neighbor, which brings Netflix to 6.
Yeah.
That's not bad. It's a slow build up to what, I mean, look at, yes, Apple may have beat them to the punch with winning Best Picture, but, the slow build up sometimes is a steadier way to go.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, Perfect Neighbor, I think is still, unfortunately, a topical discussion to be had that is, and like pretty much anybody who watches it is just kind of floored by it. I would say it would not shock me to see the Alabama Solution win, just because of the fact that I think you're looking at a topical subject again, and I think it's just powerfully made. But yeah, I mean, my top choice would be Perfect Neighbor.
I would be happy with either of those two. I agree. This is how we got those. I love that Netflix and HBO were the ones that got that made sure that the rules changed. So something like The People versus O.J. Simpson. They're like, well, we could have entered this. We could have entered Making a Murderer, and we could have entered The Jinx. It's like, yeah, you could have just done that, but it's like those two had mutual destruction. Like they knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
ESPN didn't care. They're like, we'll do it.
Yes.
We'll take our one Oscar and then see you never. Like, well, I love things like that. Next category.
Okay, we're going to Best Animated Feature Film. Arco, Elio, K-Pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie, or the Character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. Does Netflix finally win this category over Disney?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I do.
I don't see how they lose this at this point. I mean, they've won everything, everywhere.
And again, you look at the pop culture blueprint of it. It's like, yes, Zootopia made a crap ton of money, but nothing hit nothing hit the overall consciousness of people like K-pop Demon Hunters. Like
Yeah.
it was insane.
It's been so long since we've had an animated film in the top 10 for Best Picture. They need to step it up.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what could possibly be in the future, and I just don't know.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't think they're
Yeah.
down forever, but it is a little weird when we can see like multiple international features and they still haven't been able to sneak one back in yet. But I'm sure the right one will come along.
Yeah.
Like
Or they'll
I
just
always
or they'll just nominate Toy Story 5. I mean,
I
who
always
knows?
believed that if Toy Story 3 was the first Toy Story film, that probably would have won Best Picture that year.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
That's an argument you could
Yeah.
make that being a sequel was its biggest hindrance. Like if that had been the first one,
Right.
oh, I mean, I don't cry during animated movies anymore because I'm an adult, but that did it. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think K-pop Demon Hunter has it in the bag. So that brings us to the writing categories for adapted
Woo.
screenplay: Bugonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Train Dreams.
Well, as I like to remind everyone every year, you have to be nominated for Best Picture to win either of these two categories, which in this case does not eliminate anyone from adapted screenplay, but
Yeah.
they are going to give this to Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yes.
I think even if you want to think of it as like a security win, like they don't want him to walk out again empty-handed.
Yeah. No,
And-
I couldn't agree more.
And I think if we were going to see Hamnet make a play for this, we would have seen it at BAFTA.
yeah.
And you know what I find ironic, and because you're an Oscar nerd like me, is that no adaptation of a Shakespearean play has ever won this category. Famously, Hamlet in 1948 is one of the only three films to win Best Picture without, a screenplay nomination.
Yeah.
So now a film that's
That's-
just so close in title.
Huh.
Like,
I didn't even think about that. I think
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
seen that.
Kenneth Branagh was the last one, I believe, to receive a nomination for a Shakespearean play for Hamlet.
Yeah, his unabridged version of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
Um,
adding some interior, exterior to this
Yeah.
copy and
No,
paste. I
and-
could write that film. I actually feel like the best adaptation of a Shakespearean play wasn't nominated, and that was The Tragedy of Macbeth. I felt like
Yeah.
that was
that-
brilliant adaptation. Same thing with Guillermo del Toro, just to get back on track. Frankenstein is a book most people, I don't know if you did, but I had to read it in high school. And I thought
I
it
did
was
not.
well, I did. And I just want to say, as someone who had to read the book, I thought this was a brilliant adaptation of a book a lot of us do have to read. And good for Guillermo for finding a way to make this interesting and fresh.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's no. I mean, this is look. This is Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
All of these movies, I think, bring something to the table. But yeah, it's going to be Paul Thomas Anderson. Just
Yeah.
don't overthink it. Just kind of go for it. And
Yeah. The screenplay awards this
this
year are
is-
not the places to hem and haw.
Yeah, this
There
is
are clear front runners. Just go with it.
accept
Just
it. Yeah.
relax and accept what the inevitable is.
So that brings us to original screenplay, Blue Moon, which I'll be honest, kind of surprises me I guess it doesn't
Thanks
surprise
for
me it's
playing.
an original. Well, I guess it doesn't surprise me it's an original screenplay, but I know it's like based on some of the letters that between him and his muse. So that's, I guess, why I was kind of surprised why it's considered it original over adapted. But yeah, I guess it makes sense.
I'll just say this. Thank you for playing. You're not winning.
Oh no!
It's got no chance.
No, I'm aware. I'm well aware. It was just an accent, which for me would be the only acceptable alternative to Sinners in here. Marty Supreme, yeah, no, sorry. Sentimental Value, really good
Thanks for playing.
screenplay, but yeah, no. And then, of course, Ryan Coogler for Sinners. And again,
Yeah, I
this
mean,
is,
they just to defend this, remember that they take the word original very seriously. They
yeah,
don't they don't think of this as best screenplay not based on a previously published material. They
yeah,
really do take the word original to mean more than just what my long diatribe of a sentence is. And there is
yeah.
no film more original, whether you like it or not, than Sinners this year.
No, absolutely. Absolutely not.
And good for Coogler. He will be the second African American, well, second Black writer to win original screenplay after Jordan Peele. And he's already made history winning
Yeah.
this at BAFTA, which is an antiquated, racist organization.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that
finally
with the
stumbled
acting
on to like that where you're like, whoa.
we're gonna get to that. Believe me.
You looked a little surprised when it happened. I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you for being a little surprised. I mean, that was Sentimental Value's best chance.
Mm-hmm.
And they shut that film down at BAFTA.
Yeah. No, we're gonna get to BAFTA and racism with the acting nominees. Believe me. But no, yeah, this is Coogler, so it's gonna be Coogler versus PTA. Both of them will win at least one. The question is, do one or more of them win multiple Oscars? We will get to that after we get to the acting categories. And we are going to start with the supporting actress.
Actress.
You know what? Let's start with lead actors because that'll honestly be the easiest one to talk about. Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue. Renata Rensve for Sentimental Value. Emma Stone for Begonia. I love Emma Stone, but I really need her to do other stuff than Yorgos.
She's not going to win a third Oscar for a Yorgos film.
No, I know she's not, but I need her to work with somebody else for a little bit. Please. Yeah. Just. But this is Jessie Buckley. Like, this is the lock of the night when it comes to the acting nominees.
She's won everything. And somebody asked me, they're like, why aren't you a little upset that Chase Infinity didn't get nominated? I'm like, because they're all playing for second place. Like, it's, like, there's no point in thinking about this. Good for Kate Hudson. None of those other four really matter. They're there to fill the spots. Like, I don't mean to be derogatory, but hey, three of them are new nominees. Two of them are first-time nominees. I hope they have great nights. Emma's a past winner. She can just smile and clap. It's Buckley. It's Buckley.
And Kate Hudson, this is her first nomination in over 25 years. So,
yeah,
I mean.
But this is Buckley. And what a legacy for Chloe Zhao to have every actress in Hollywood work with Glenn Close next. Like, let's get her that Oscar. Like, let's just face it. Like, every actress in Hollywood's going to want to work with her when she's 2 for 2 for Best Actress.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. So we will go, and look, Buckley is, like, I would love to see Byrne or Rensve win. It's not going to happen. It's going to be Buckley. But, that brings us to Best Actress in a Supporting Role. Nominees are Ella Fanning for Sentimental Value, Inga Ibsdottir, Lily Oss for Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan for Weapons, Wunmi Mosaku for Sinners, and Tiana Taylor for One Battle After Another.
Doesn't it feel good that you and I are finally going to get Best Actress right for the first time in a couple of years?
Yeah, I feel like we kind of that. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. I was not. Yeah. Anyway, we
don't need to go into it. But,
supporting actress. Sentimental Value, ladies, enjoy the nominations. That's as far as you go, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because of the fact that I do feel like this is ultimately going to be Amy Madigan for weapons, but would not shock me if Mosaku or Taylor won.
Let me ask you this: since Amy Madigan is the only nomination for her film, why her and not Glenn Close? Why is she going to win and Glenn Close couldn't, as the sole nominee?
I I feel like it's a showier role, and the Academy, they do kind of enjoy those, and I feel like it's like this is you feel like with Glenn Close, chances are she's going to be back. With Amy Madigan, how many more opportunities is she going to have?
Well, this is again. She's the sole
I'm
nominee.
not saying she's my top choice to win, but I'm saying
Is she your prediction?
she's my prediction. But it would not shock me to see Musaku or Taylor win either.
So I can't predict Taylor because she didn't win a peer-based award.
Okay.
Not saying that's going to happen, but I feel like you've got to win one or the other. I can't predict Madigan because I'm looking at all the people who won without, being in a Best Picture, and most of the time they do sleep. Christopher Plummer was a supporting player who won outside, and he was the sole nominee for his film. He swept everything. He left no doubt. And I think they're going to go with Wunmi Mosaku. I'm going to predict Wunmi Mosaku for Sinners.
She is my personal top choice. So I do not hate that choice whatsoever. She is my top choice. So I'm personal top choice. I love that. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like SAG, I feel, it's funny because of the fact that with SAG, you feel like there's a little bit of clarity that comes in with SAG because it's obviously actors voting for actors. But the fact of the matter is, it's like this year, with the exception of Buckley, I'll be honest, we'll get to supporting actor. I have thoughts on that. I just don't know that supporting actors has been, it's funny because supporting actors is almost always, it's either the easiest one to predict or the easiest one to say anything goes with. And this is one of those years where I do feel like a little bit more of anything goes, even though I would say it boils down to Madigan or Mosaku.
I think Mosaku has the edge because she's in a Best Picture nominee. We know they prefer their performers in Best Picture nominees.
Yeah.
And again, she won BAFTA.
Mm-hmm.
So with the BAFTA win, I'm going to go ahead and predict her because I think that it is that kind of long-suffering, almost wife role. They really like that. And I just cannot get past the fact that Madigan is the only nominee for her film and she hasn't swept. She wasn't even BAFTA nominated. I can't get past that.
Okay.
So for me, I have to statistically go with Mosaku.
Okay. I can get beyond that. I can certainly get behind that. So, okay, so we are going to go to Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Nominations are Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo for Sinners, Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård for Selma Value. We've got 3 first-time winners, 3 first-time nominees, 2 previous winners.
From the same film.
From the same film, no less, yeah. So
I want my second Oscar. I want my third. Sorry.
And honestly, if you were going to ask me which of those scenarios I would prefer, I would much prefer Benicio del Toro win his second One Battle After Another over Sean Penn winning his third, because honestly, I love Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another. I loved him in this movie. So here is where I kind of wanted to get to the BAFTA and the racism discussion. So, as was seen on the telecast, there was an incident where Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were presenting an award, and one of the subjects of one of the nominated films, who has a specific form of Tourette's, said the
Verbal
N word,
Tourette's. Yeah.
and it was noticed and was easily, clearly heard on the broadcast. And Lindo and Jordan were professionals, as they always are, and just went with it, and it became a whole thing. Here is where I am going to say it would not, because of Sinners, just in general, the groundswell of Sinners, because Academy voting started shortly after that instance, and honestly, because it is his first time nomination, and a lot of people probably feel like he should have been nominated several years ago for The Five Bloods. I feel like Delroy Lindo could be a winner here, even though he doesn't have the precursors. I know that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of a paradox of the situation where it's like, it's never okay to say this, but did it hurt him in his quest to win an Oscar? No. Did it help him? It might have. You know, you can never really tell. But
I feel like the only one of the five that you can say, yeah, is probably not going to win, even though I know they won, what was it, Critics' Choice, was Elordi.
Yeah, and I would also say if Skarsgård was going to win an Oscar, he had to win BAFTA. Because, first of all, let me just start by saying this about everyone involved in Sentimental Value, especially the more international cast, not necessarily Elle Fanning. Well, yeah, but just because you are not a member of SAG does not mean you are not eligible for the actor award. So, for example, Owen Cooper probably was not a SAG member, and he won. He probably is now, but he wasn't probably at the time. That being said, with over like 100+ projects that he's worked on, of all the snubs Sentimental Value had at the Actors Award, that was the one where I was like, ooh, that's not good. Yeah. That is not good. So for him and Elordi, I have to eliminate them. Before SAG, was making the argument that, you know, look, Sean Penn did not win for Mystic River. He didn't win for Milk. There's a possibility that BAFTA felt like, okay, we've screwed up. We've got to award him. And, you know, we'll see what happens at SAG. My hands are tied. I can't say go by stats, don't make emotional predictions, and then go, screw it, I'm going to go with Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo is absolutely the person I want to see march up on that stage. I would be thrilled. I want to be wrong. Mm-hmm. I have to predict Sean Penn because, again, I can't. I'm in one of those situations where it's like, I've kind of put myself in a box, and sometimes it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, and it breaks my heart because Benicio del Toro is my favorite of the two from that movie.
It's odd that Sean Penn only won SAG for Milk. So, you know, again, I doubt that the Screen Actors Guild voted for him just because they felt like they owed him. I was surprised that Benicio didn't win SAG.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, it's the reason you have me on here year after year after year. So I can't just say, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I want. I have to predict Sean Penn. Do I want to see him win? No. Yeah. Do I want to see Delroy Lindo? Yes. And I think that there has been a groundswell of support for him, starting with Denzel Washington, who doesn't do FYC campaigns for his own films, hosting one for Delroy Lindo, where it was just him and Delroy Lindo discussing this film. There's talks now that he wants to be in Black Panther 3. Him and Denzel Washington. I'm like, what day is this movie coming out? I'm going to be sick.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I would love to see Delroy Lindo win. I think there is a groundswell of support for him before the incident. I could see how This is a similar situation to Marcia Gay Harden. The only thing I wish I had seen, again, one of the other reasons why I was kind of rooting for Benicio was like, well, if those two cancel themselves out, then that does definitely open the door for Lindo. Now, what I will say helps Lindo in this is that, one moment. Sorry. Let me start over. One thing that we know helps Lindo is we know that they prefer Sean Penn over Benicio del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
We know they prefer Sean Penn over Jacob Elordi. We know that they prefer Sean Penn over Stellan Skarsgård. We don't know when you add someone new into this, what happens.
Yeah.
So maybe that does, change things around a little bit. But again, I'm boxed into I'm in a corner. I can't not predict Penn. So
yeah. I feel that. I feel that it.
I want to be wrong, though. I so desperately want to be wrong.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like you can't go with, because I mean, look, I think a lot of people would recognize that Sean Penn at his best is a fantastic actor.
The irony
is he an actor? Would you consider him on the same level as Jack Nicholson, who also has 3 Oscars, though? That I don't know.
Also, that he's got a really low total of nominations too.
Yeah.
The one thing, again, it's really hard to win your third, as it should be. But I don't know. I don't know. He's kind of doing that whole, I'm just going to see where the chips land. Yeah. He's not campaigning for it, which, fine for him. It is. This is one where it will be early in the evening, and this might be the start the count, folks.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. I want to, I can't.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
But this is one of those scenarios where is it more plausible than other times when someone's been in at the 11th hour? Yes.
Yeah.
So
that brings us to Best Actor in a Leading Role. Nominees are Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. It's funny because of the fact that, first of all, I love Ethan Hawke. He was my top choice of the year in this category. I know he's not going to win.
I think he gives the best performance in a play.
I'd love to see him win. I know he's not going to. I'm just glad he got nominated.
Well, the one thing I'll say so we can eliminate him. We would have seen DiCaprio win something by now if that was going to happen.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about international actors is we've seen this, especially with female actors, where they win the Globe and then they disappear for a couple months and then they pop back up at the Oscars. I don't think Moore is going to break that trend and actually win this. The one thing I will say is that I went ahead and I did some research, and now I'm seeing my research all over the internet, is that for the past 22 years, you have to win BAFTA and or SAG to win Best Actor. Now, the last person to do that, the last time we saw somebody win Best Actor without winning SAG or BAFTA was in 2003 for Sean Penn. And if you remember, that was a crazy year where Johnny Depp won SAG and Bill Murray won for Lost in Translation at BAFTA. Yeah, and that was a really crazy Best Actor year, probably the craziest since this one. So I was on another cast and I said, I'm like, look, personal feelings aside about Timmy, and I could say a lot about how disrespectful he has been throughout the season, not to mention his new comments about ballet or opera, where it's like, you know what, if you don't like him, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Let's try that as a new strategy. but personal feelings aside, I was on another podcast and I said, look, my opinion aside or not, after the BAFTA winner is not in the Oscar race because the film's not out in this country, I said, whomever wins SAG, regardless of
Yeah.
my feelings, unless it's Jesse Plemons, that was, not going to happen, but he was nominated. I'm going to predict that person to win the Oscar. I did not think it was going to be the person I'd want to win. That never happens, to the point where I was probably very giddy. And I'm going with Michael B. Jordan. He has the actor award.
Yeah.
And I don't think Timmy can break that trend.
No. And it's like,
he's probably gonna have to wait longer than
DiCaprio.
Bradley Cooper at this point.
I don't know. You might have to wait longer than DiCaprio did because
DiCaprio was 40. And that puts Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan's 40. He's at the right age. His SAG speech was so emotional. It was so humbling. But it was the way the audience, not just Viola Davis, because when she came out there, I was like, it's either Jordan or Chalamet, because Chalamet did mention him in his infamous speech last year. But it was the way the entire room erupted, not to mention Jesse Plemons, where I'm like, I can't clap that loud. My hands hurt watching you. But Ethan Hawke, who was like the picture of good sport, who had to congratulate him on his way up. And let's not forget that, like, Viola Davis is at an FYC with him, but not just him, her, not just her. We've seen Matt Damon do one. We've seen, Kevin Bacon. There's been a lot of individuals going out of their way to go, you played 2.5 people. If you count that scene at the end.
Yeah.
It's fair, because that is, a little bit more than we see. But I do. And it's going to be so moving to see someone who is so tied to a director win, and that director, writer to win also in any category. Because remember, we haven't seen Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg win in the same film. We've never seen like Leo and Marty Scorsese win. We've never seen Denzel Washington and Spike Lee win together, or even be nominated together.
Yeah.
So this is so special, and I never thought I'd get to make this prediction.
Yeah.
And the fact that I can do it with stats behind it makes me feel very good about this. I feel like it's the same thing with, like, if you remember when Jessica Chastain won for The Eyes of Tammy Faye and the BAFTA winner wasn't eligible, well, you got to drop down to SAG.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I agree with you. I will be overjoyed when he wins, because I agree with you. I think the actors, I think him winning the Actors Award is what would seal it. I think it's what would seal it. I think you mentioned all the people who've done FYC with him and stuff like that. He's beloved, and again, you've got him and Coogler, and it's like, how often you point to it? There's like not often, if ever, does that type of scenario happen.
Yeah, because they both have that. I mean, I always like to brag that when I went into Wakanda Forever, I'm like, he's gonna have a cameo. I knew it before she swam up. I'm like, here he comes.
Right.
Because I'm like, if you've always made a film with him, like, it makes sense to have him in there.
You're going to find a way to use him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I would get it. The next one where it's like, if you've got Denzel Washington and everyone running around, the third one, I'm like, maybe you don't have time to put him in 30 seconds worth of it. But, if Timmy had won BAFTA, I would be like, flip a coin.
That would be one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If Timmy had won BAFTA, I might have had to predict Timmy, only because I could see the argument of how the actors, since he did work his way up from All My Children through some really great network television series and some really like beloved, The Wire, Friday Night Lights, like he sent some ones that are still getting watched today up through film. I
Yeah.
could see the argument with like the same with Demi Moore, where it's like that might be troublesome.
Mhm.
But since Timmy couldn't take BAFTA, I get to predict Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. Which brings us to Best Director: Hamnet, Chloe Zhao, Marty Supreme, Josh Safdie, One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson, Samuel Value, Joaquin Trier, and Sinners, Ryan Coogler. I know,
Yeah, go
so
for it.
I know obviously Paul Thomas Anderson should be considered the front runner because he's basically been winning this for the most part the entire season.
Yeah, he's won every precursor.
Yeah, I do think if Ryan Coogler wins though, I think you're looking at a scenario where that basically tells us that Sinners can be Best Picture.
Absolutely, because if there
Yeah,
is a split, it makes more sense for Sinners to win Best Picture and Paul Thomas Anderson to win
to win
Director.
director. Yeah,
It would be so almost, I think disrespectful might be the right word, to award the first Black director and not award the film. I feel the same
yeah,
way, like when you look at like Catherine Bigelow, like it would have been so disrespectful to award her and not the Hurt Locker.
yeah.
Like sometimes people are just kind of, if you're going to do that, you got to go all the way. I know that
Right.
he could win, but again, I'm kind of backed into a corner here, folks. I have to go with Paul Thomas Anderson, but I think like the same way with like Bong Joon Ho, you know, you include everyone gets to vote for at the Oscars for director,
Yeah.
and you know that acting branch. If they remember, the acting branch did something they've never done, and that is to award the same director film ensemble twice. Ryan Coogler has had two ensembles win the top prize for both Sinners and what Black Panther.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Hmm.
They've never done that.
Yeah.
Leo's never won, you know, Leo's never won ensemble.
I always forget that Black Panther until recently. I always forgot that Black Panther won ensemble. I really did. It's like, but yeah. I mean, I guess I can. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember what the other nominees are, but yeah, nothing else will really. Nothing
It
else
was
from
like
what I
Black
will.
Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, Crazy Rich
Yeah.
Asian. Yeah. But still, it was still considered an upset because it was a Marvel film.
Marvel movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, with One Battle After the Other performing so well, there was a chance they'd do the same thing they did with Oppenheimer and go, it's not your classic ensemble winner, but
Yeah.
yeah, okay, sure, we'll give it to One Battle because PTA is going to win and it's his turn, which is what we saw with
Yeah.
like Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer over Barbie. Barbie 9 times out of 10 would have won that.
Yeah.
But you know, they went with Sinners and they got a standing ovation on their way up there.
Yep. Which, but yeah, it's hard to think of a scenario where PTA does not win one battle after another for director.
Oh,
I,
there is a scenario because again,
oh
you know,
yes, there is.
we've
Yeah,
only
we've
seen,
talked about it.
yeah, it is possible when you open the floodgates that we when people ask, well, how did Bong Joon Ho did it? It's like the acting branch,
Yeah.
but I can't make the prediction. Can you make that prediction?
No, and the fact of the matter is, it's like you're looking at like three of those nominees for director have multiple nominations and have at least three actors nominated in the acting branch.
Yeah.
Between PTA, Coogler, and Trier, three of those
Yeah.
films are not Trier. Like three of those films are nominated. All three of those films have at least three or four acting nominations.
Yeah.
So I do think I don't know. I mean, I the head says PTA just because of the precursors, but to your point, I mean,
I don't want to be
and
wrong. No offense.
look, I'm not gonna. I would not hate for Coogler to win because, as I said, Sinners was far and away the best film I saw this year. Which brings us to Best Picture. Nominees are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agents, ML Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. This is basically it's either One Battle After Another or Sinners. And honestly, I'm gonna be on it. Regardless of who wins director, I have a hard time at seeing it not be Sinners.
I agree. I think it's going to
I
be
really
Sinners.
do.
I think they have to almost respect the total of nominations they gave it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so hard for me because I love so many of these just down the line.
yeah,
But I do think it's Sinners. And again, that's what leaves the door open for it to win supporting actor or possibly director or pick
yeah,
up a few categories we're not expecting it to win. I know why I shouldn't make that prediction, sure, but I think there has been, a groundswell of support towards the end of it, and I'm going with Sinners.
yeah. No, I think the momentum, so many of these, so many years, it's all about momentum. It's all about momentum. You brought up Parasite. I feel like the momentum had been building for Parasite all year. And honestly, it's hard to see any of it was always kind of hard to see any of those other films win Best Picture.
Well, and what really helped Parasite, and yes, it did lose PGA and DGA, and but you have to remember, 1917 was not nominated for an actor award, but
Yeah,
like Sinners, Parasite became the first international feature to win
Best
ensemble.
Picture. Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, with Sinners and Ryan Coogler being the first director to have two film winners, I say that because I don't want people going in the comments going, "Well, Aaron Sorkin had West Wing and he had." I'm like, yes, I'm aware. He's the first to have a TV and a film winner. He's had two separate winners. We're not taking away that as an accomplishment. I'm saying as far as like two film ensembles, think of
Yeah.
all the directors who've had a film win and have never been able to follow it up. I mean, look at someone like Quentin Tarantino, or
Hmm.
it is a remarkable feat that they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And the
I'm
fact of the matter is the actors are still the biggest branch in the academy. And I mean that always means something.
it does count for something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would be to a certain extent, yes, there's a world where I can see one battle after another wing, of course, but to your point, when you consider the record nomination total, that's something that does need to be respected.
And I think that what One Battle has going for it, I don't want to dismiss One Battle. I really did love the film. It's one of my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson films. And I arguably understand, like with Christopher Nolan, it might be a little bit more approachable for voters. It's
Yeah,
not about a sex therapist. It's not about porn makers. It's not predatory like Phantom Thread. But it does also have that very timely feeling because about 45 minutes of the film does take place during an ice raid. So yes,
yeah,
there is an immediacy and a timeliness to that film that could help it. But Sinners is still very timely, but it just gives you this kind of like, I mean, even this year, Christopher Nolan talked about Rocky Road to Dublin
yeah.
and how much he just was like, I was shocked when this number came on. And what did the Irish ever do to you? It is kind of like, he's right. It is like Clockwork Orange and Singing in the Rain. And there is something about having. I just love that number. I wish Jack
Yeah.
Aparo would perform it. I remember enjoying the film when that came out, and I was like, "Oh, you just cranked the volume to 12." Like, I mean, it was already at like a 9 or a 10, but they really were. It just is really like the thought that that entire film was in one person's brain
Yeah.
is just kind of impossible to believe, and also something so special that it should be rewarded.
And I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's like, I think one of the things that I do think to a certain extent, one of the things we've started to see to a certain extent with the past 10, 15 years or 15 years or so is I do feel like we've started to see a lot of wholly unique and original films win Best Picture. Like
Mm-hmm.
you think about everything, everywhere, all at once. You think about Birdman. You think about Parasite. You think about. See, trying to think of some other.
I mean, I've loved Coda personally, but I get
I
it.
mean, it was an adaptation of an earlier film, but yeah, I mean, but the fact of the matter is, it's like there are so many wholly unique films that have won over the years
Mm-hmm.
that I think something like Sinners. I think we're starting to see the fact that Oscar winners cannot necessarily be put into a box of, oh, I mean, even this even kind of fits one battle after another. I know it's an adapted screenplay, but it's still a very original take on the material. And so the idea that you've got fully unique film and cinematic experience, I that was a box office hit, and that's it's like I know they don't play the box office game, but
Yeah, I was really
that
shocked
does
that PGA did not give it to Sinners. I was a little
that
disappointed with that one.
that does matter, and I mean, and so yeah, I mean, I think Sinners winning would make all the sense in the world. Um, and yeah, Amanda, I think I'm pretty much spent. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
always pleased to go through the Oscars with you. It's always a fun conversation, and we will definitely continue to do this. This is always one of my favorite episodes to get to in the year. And
Oh.
where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Amanda Spears. Thank you again for having me. This was always fun.
No problem. And yeah, it is always a pleasure to talk to you.
I'd like to thank Amanda for joining me on the podcast as always. One quick thing to talk about. One of the things when we were talking about Best Original Song and Best Original Score movies that had won both of those awards, we actually forgot a couple in between La La Land and Titanic. We forgot about Lord of the Rings Return of the King in 2004, and then Slumdog Millionaire in 2009. It occurred to me both of those after I'd started editing the episode, so I did want to put that out there. We now come to the moment that ends this episode every year, which is my 10 best films of 2025. And this was a really fun year. I enjoyed so many films from this year. I thought this was a really good year for genre, but I also thought it was just a strong year in general for unique filmmaking. And some of my favorites, I mean, you read my retrospective. I'm going to link to it in the episode page on the website. Some of my favorites this year were just absolutely delightful. We had Predator, Killer of Killers, Drop, October 8th, Hidden Face, Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, Thunderbolts, Captain America, Brave New World was one I really enjoyed. 11 Rebels, Nuremberg, which is on Netflix and is well worth watching now. Good Boy, Springsteen, Deliver Me from Evil, A Little Prayer, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, A House of Dynamite, which I saw after the new year, really love that one. Yadang, The Snitch, Lockjaw, Predator Badlands, Dear Stranger, When Fall is Coming, Black Phone 2, The Garden Ceasefire, which introduced me to Kiara Farber, who's one of my favorite people to get to know this year as far as filmmakers. Good Girls Get Fed, Eponymous, Spermicide, Black Girls and Fairy Tales, Hedda, The Old Woman with the Knife, K-Pop Demon Hunters, Torn, the Israel-Palestine poster war on New York streets, Orwell, 2 + 2 = 5, Superman, To a Land Unknown, The Life of Chuck, Saturday Ritual, Highest to Lowest, great Spike Lee film that came out on Apple TV Plus. Oh Hi, The Alabama Solution, and Superboy's Amalgam. That brings us to my A-plus movies. That brings us to the highest level movies. This was an incredibly diverse and wonderful list this year. It Ends, which I saw at the Atlanta Film Festival and was briefly available on Letterboxd. Unknown Number, The High School Catfish, Fantastic Four, First Steps, The Testament of Ann Lee, Sorry Baby, Natchez, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, We Bury the Dead, a really haunting zombie movie that came out the first week of the year, actually. But I saw it at the Atlanta Film Festival, and then Rebuilding, which has one of 3 really strong Josh O'Connor performances this year. That brings us to our top 10. And this is one of the most diverse top 10s I have had in a good long while. And it really didn't change from the end of the year, in part because I didn't get to as much after the year ended as I would have liked, but these 10 movies are all worth watching, and most of them are available. You can check them out. Most of these are available at places to watch now. At number 10, we have Greta Gerwig's The Perfect Neighbor, which is a really harrowing look at what happens when bigotry and prejudices go unchecked, and the violence that can ensue when it doesn't. And it was the best documentary I saw this year. There were a lot of great documentaries this year, and I'm picking The Alabama Solution to win just because of the fact that I do feel like that subject is going to be easier to win at the Oscars than Perfect Neighbor is, but I can see either one winning, and I'd be fine with either one. Next up is Richard Linklater's Blue Moon, which is now on Netflix, and it looks at lyricist Lorenz Hart as he is waxing poetic about his creative process, about the struggles in his life in a bar on the opening of his former collaborator's greatest musical hit, Oklahoma. Ethan Hawke plays Lorenz Hart in this, and he is probably one of the best performances he has ever given. I really wish he was going to be the best actor choice this year. He is wonderful. I understand why he's not. And if it's like Michael B. Jordan, I have no complaints whatsoever. He was fantastic. He was my number 2 this year. But Blue Moon just blew me away. And like I said, this is on Netflix now. Number 8 is Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value. And it's funny because of the fact that the more I thought about this movie, the more this really does feel like sort of a different version of The Fabelmans in how it looks at the family lives of creative people. And stellar performances just across the board in this movie. Renata Rensve, Stellan Skarsgård, and it's just beautiful. I really love this. The fact that the next 3 movies are international films, and I've got 4 on this list entirely. Number 7 is Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice, which is one of the most diabolically funny dark comedies that I think I've ever seen, and it is easily my favorite movie of his. It's the movie that has resonated the most with me, with him, as a veteran manager is struggling in a very difficult job market, and he goes to unconventional lengths in order to get ahead in the job market. And it is anchored by a fantastic performance by Lee Byung-hun, and it's just such a vicious dark comedy. I loved every minute of it. Number 6 is The Voice of Hind Rajab. And a lot of people are naturally focusing on the fact that this was a tragedy in the early months of the Israel-Palestine conflict that is still going on. But one of the things I think is so extraordinary about this movie, it doesn't show Hind Rajab whatsoever. We just hear her voice from the calls that came into Red Crescent. It's about how the film is as much and even more so about rescue workers, dispatchers who are practically helpless, who can only do as much as their position allows them to do in moments of crisis. And that's one of the things that I took away from the film when I watched it. And it's just an extraordinarily made movie. I loved it's harrowing, and I loved every moment of it. Number 5 is a short documentary I saw at the Atlanta Film Festival, Sunset and the Mockingbird. It is the story of jazz pianist Junior Mance and his wife, Gloria Claiborne, as they are struggling with Mance's diagnosis of dementia. And this one hit me really hard this year because I saw this less than a month, and I forgot to mention Third Act, another wonderful documentary that I wrote about on Sonic Cinema, was one of my favorites from this year. Those two films, including Sunset and the Mockingbird, were films that I saw in the month after my mom passed, after years of cancer and dementia. And I thought it was really quite beautiful the way that this film illustrates not only how difficult it is to be a caretaker to somebody with dementia, but also the ways in which music can still have an impact on somebody, even if the rest of their memory is going. And it was great. Gloria Claiborne happened to be at the screening, and I had a chance to talk to her afterwards, and it was just really beautiful to communicate with her and to talk to her about that. And I love that short. It was easily one of my favorites of the year. Number 4 is David Fortune's Color Book, which was another one at the Atlanta Film Festival this year. And it's about a father who's having a hard time trying to take care of his son who has Down syndrome after the death of his wife. And it focuses on him trying to take his son to a baseball game. And that story is just so... It's so moving the way it unfolds, and I loved watching it. I loved the humanity in it. It's just really quite a striking film. When it's available further, I cannot recommend it enough. Number 3 is Chloe Zhao's Hamnet, which is kind of fictional in the way it looks at the creation of Hamlet, but it's more so about the ways in which people process grief, and that's what I love most about it. Jessie Buckley, Paul Mescal are absolutely unbelievable in this movie. The Max Richter music in this film is breathtaking. And the climax is just an emotional swell that is one of my favorite pieces of filmmaking of the year. Number 2 is Jafar Panahi's It Was Just an Accent. And if I'm being honest, this is the only movie of the one over 200 that I saw this year that is honestly close to my number 1. And it's about a mechanic who finds himself remembering the trauma of his time in prison in Iran when he encounters somebody who he suspects was his captor. And seeing the ways in which the characters are confronted with their pasts throughout this process is really harrowing and really profound. And the way that the end of this movie just hits like a ton of bricks in how it unfolds. And it was just absolutely a breathtaking, extraordinary thriller, and very human story too. Which brings us to number 1, and as I mentioned in my discussion with Amanda, it is Ryan Coogler's Sinners. Ever since I saw the movie in April, it has not been particularly close, up until It Was Just an Accent, as far as what my top movie of the year was. The way that Coogler brings music and culture and genre together in Sinners is absolutely extraordinary. It is the highest form of storytelling for genre films and for cinema in general. It's the best of what cinema can bring out in a filmmaker and also an audience. Performances in this movie are stellar. The filmmaking in every way, the soundtrack, which is one of my absolute favorites. I've not had this strong of a response to a soundtrack since Cloud Atlas. That's how big my reaction to the soundtrack is. And it's just an extraordinary film. If you haven't seen it, if you miss it in theaters, I cannot recommend it enough. If you get a chance to see it in theaters, I cannot recommend it enough. I cannot recommend it enough in general. It's just an absolutely tremendous film. That's going to be it for this episode of the Sonic Cinema Podcast. Thank you, as always, to Amanda for joining me. Can't wait to have her back in the years to come as we talk more about the Oscars and get closer to the Oscars 100th anniversary in a couple of years. It's going to be interesting to see that unfold. As always, you can check us out at patreon.com/Sonic Cinema. Wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, YouTube, and more. And also my writing at www.sonic-cinema.com. Thank you very much.